We've been speaking about sort of some of the breakdown and public trust of certain institutions and organizations, but for the companies that are the major players in this space, there is also, of course, some trepidation. And I wonder if you can speak to what Microsoft specifically is doing to ensure that this technology is being used for net good as opposed to being used as a weapon of mass destruction or disruption.
I think that takes us back to a conversation about what I described earlier as a safety architecture. And to try to simplify it a bit, think about a generative AI, a model, an application, and then we put guardrails around it. And at one level, the guardrails are what we call classifiers. A classifier basically identifies a class of queries or requests or prompts or issues. So let's imagine that somebody goes to one of these applications and says, how can I best build a bomb to blow up my school? That is something that people could use the AI to do. Well, we have a class of prompts that identifies that. And you have to think about it. There's probably 1,000 different ways to ask that question. There's lots of different words that one can substitute. So you've got to build the capability to identify all of the different permutations. So that's one guardrail. And then the other guardrail is what we call a meta prompt. What a meta prompt does is basically it intervenes in real time before the answer is provided and says, in effect, we're not going to answer that question. And instead it gives a different answer. The different answer is typically, that is not something I am willing to do. Or imagine, because this happens, somebody says, how can I commit suicide tonight? And the meta prompt intervenes and says, what you really should do is reach out to get some counseling. Either here's a hotline, you can call this number. But that concept, those concepts basically come together and they help ensure that a reliable, reputable service is only used in a way that we would regard as societally appropriate, that we're able to put certain activities out of bounds and stop its use for that purpose. And a lot of what you're seeing right now across the industry and around the world, really is about how you do better testing when these models are created, how you identify the potential harms, how you put in place a variety of controls to mitigate and stop them from happening, and how you build a safety architecture. And the last thing I would just say is what we're really trying to do as a company is creating safety architecture, in effect, as a service, so that Meta, for example, can take its open source model and it can deploy it in Microsoft Cloud data center, and it will benefit from our safety architecture. A professor here in New York City can create an open source model, can make that model available to the world, but the professor, I would bet, doesn't want to see the model abused. So the open source model can run with that safety architecture as well. So that is one good idea, and it's going to take more than one good idea to advance all of this.